Well, hello, everybody. Ruthie's right front and center here tonight. So I guess she didn't want to be seen. She took off. So what I'm going to be showing you tonight is how to make this fan blade project and the use of the fan blade template that's available from Sew Study. So I'm going to lay this one aside. We're going to be making one very similar to it, but I thought you might like to see one that is finished. And you'll notice here in the center, I have this nice perfect circle. That's done with our circles and straights tool. So are you back, Ruthie? You went away for a little while? You're going to have to move out of the way so the ladies can see what we're doing here. All right. So for this project, you will need a half a yard for one color of blade and a half a yard for the other color. And that will leave you enough to decide which one you want for the circle in the center. That center circle is about 6 inches, and you will have enough for a 6-inch square to make that circle. So I have already cut out some of these. We need 12 blades, and this is the half yard here. And I have cut off one section. So right over here, I've cut off the one section. Ruthie, come on. So what I've done is the fan blade template looks like this. She's really demanding tonight, isn't she? Looks like this. And you can see this section down here. This is where the original template ends and the extension begins. Now, some of you may already have this fan blade template. And if you do, you're going to be able to purchase this extension separately. Going forward, that extension will be part of this template. So you'll have it as a separate, so you can do the rounded or curved edge or the pointed edge. So I have already cut out one set right here. I only recommend that you cut 2 layers at a time because it has to be very, very exact. But when you're cutting this, make sure that you don't, like for when you're cutting this, cut out this way, because now that I've cut this one, and you'll notice that I've laid it on straight grain over here, and this is laying right beside that line. So all I have to do is flip this over, and I can lay it right on that same line. So that side is partially cut. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut this side, and I'm going to cut backwards first, so I've got that cut, and then go down that way. So you can see I have, there we go, I've cut that side. So now I'm going to go this way and cut that one. Down here at the bottom, I like to actually take a pencil and just draw that line, because it's very difficult to get a good cut on that with a rotary cutter. So what I need to do now is turn this and make sure that my ruler didn't, or my template didn't move. If it did, line it back up. We're going to cut that off and that off. And now I'll take my scissors and get a good cut on that line that I just penciled. So now I've got another one to cut. And as I look at the screen, I'm not sure why the camera is mirror imaging this. It makes it look like I'm left-handed, I guess. So I'm going to turn this, because I turned that around to begin with. I'm going to put this right on the line, making sure it's exactly on that line. Backwards first there. This is cut. I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. Draw that line. And then very carefully turn this around. Make sure it's back in line. Cut that. And this may be out of your view down here, but I'm cutting this. And now all I have to do is cut this off. So now I have got my 2 cuts, which is 4 pieces. The others I have already cut. This up here is where I will make my square. And since that's cut even straight over there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, should be plenty big. I'll just use the straight edge of my template and cut that off. So when I go to press, I can take that over and press it also. Now while I'm here, I might as well lay out my backing so that you'll be able to see how that is. So for the backing, you will need a 1.5 yards. No, a yard, excuse me, I'm sorry. A yard. So get that good and flat there. And I also have here a yard of my fusible fleece. And I put the fusible side down to the wrong side of the backing. Okay, so that's ready when we're ready to come back for that. And I'm just going to leave my template here. And these are my scraps I'll leave over there. But once again, you can make this with a rounded or scalloped edge, or you can add this piece on. You can see I've just taped it, and it's still very firm. So that works just fine. Let's just leave that lay here. Get my camera Hopefully it won't cut you out, and we'll go to the other location over here where we can sew. This might take a couple trips. So I'm just going to set this right here for right now while I go back and get my holder. Yes, I'm finding out I need like 4 hands here. While we're at it, let's just go for 6. There we are. Here's my machine. And I'm going to try to get this turned around because the camera is backwards. Let's see. That didn't do it. Someone's asking, what's the name of the template? It is called Fan Blade Template. That name is actually on here. I don't know why that is turned around. There we go. I learn something every time. Okay, we should be good now. So yes, it's called the Fan Blade. It's right on there. And I have just taped, now that I've stitched or cut, I can just take this off. So let me just show you. I just used a piece of packing tape, and it has held it very, very sturdy for me. There is actually a pattern that you can get on the Sew Steady website. I believe it might be a downloadable pattern, I'm not certain, or you can get it on my website, and it's called Fan Blade, and it uses this template. The pattern was actually written before, that sounded bad, but it wasn't, you guys. The pattern was actually written before we had the template, but the template makes it so much easier to cut your pieces because these pieces have to be very exact. So you can see here how I just added that on to my template. So let's get this out of the way. And you will see here that I have already put together 5 of my pieces. So I've got one more to put onto this one. And the reason I say this is you want to make 2 halves and then put those halves together. So I'm going to put this edge up here, and you want to make sure that they are right on top of each other so that your 1/4 inch is being taken equally out of those pieces. Because this is one of those, if you've ever made something like this or a Dresden plate and you can't get it to lay flat, it's usually because, like right down here, I think you can see that the white fabric sticking out a little bit, and I've got to get it so it's right in there so that the one fabric is right on top of the other. So we are pressing the seams to one side here. So I'll have that one side to press. And I'm going to take one of the blue ones because that would fit right here. And I'll get one of the white ones, put it right side together. And it doesn't really make a difference whether you start stitching at the top or at the bottom. I will tell you that you do not want to cut these pieces out and then starch them. If you're going to starch it while it's a whole piece of fabric, because if you starch it afterwards, it can change the shape of that piece. I am using 60 weight thread and a size 80 needle to put these together. I like the 60 weight thread because of the fact that it makes a very, very flat and accurate seam. So I am not doing any scant 1/4 inch. I'm doing an exact 1/4 inch. Okay. If you wanted to pin this, you certainly could. Now, this is a great scrap buster too, because you can make these as many, however you want. You could have all 12 pieces different. I happen to be just using 2 fabrics tonight, so I am using 6 of each color. But there's so many options. That's why this is such a fun pattern. This is a fun pattern to make to look like a sunflower. You would probably use the rounded edge instead of the pointed addition. But I'm going to be using the snowflake template from the current winter Elevate box. But just remember, you want to put 6 together and then the other 6 together so that you can sew. It's going to be 2 stitchings because there's a hole in the middle there. So let's see what I've got. Oh, one more. And like I said, you want to check your this white on white is really kind of difficult. And a little hint there, I can tell which one it is, or I have a little black light flashlight that I bought. And that black light flashlight is awesome because when you shine it on these fabrics that are white on white or cream on cream, oh my gosh, it just makes it so obvious which is the right side. And I think that flashlight was only like $8. It wasn't expensive, but it's just a little black light flashlight. And I would show it to you, but it's packed in my suitcase and I didn't think about it till just now. So I've got this ready to go to that side, but I want to press first, so I'll be right back. So this half here is going to be right side up for this. And then we will pin this one, or not pin it, but lay this one on top, wrong side up. And we'll stitch that together. And I'm going to go ahead and cut that and flip this over. It looks like Jill's got one of those little flashlights too. So I will now press these two seams, and I will meet you back over there at my backing. So I'm going to give Megan the camera, so while I go press, she can go over there. You're going to have to hold it over there, Megan, because I don't have two hangers.
Where am I going?
Over there where I've got my backing.
Oh.
So I'm going to flip this over and smooth it all out. And then lay this that we've just stitched right side down, and you will be able to get that on there if you don't put a point straight up. So in other words, this is straight up to that, not a point. So this is in the center here, straight up, where your points are over here.
Then you can come down. It fits.
It fits, yeah. So what I want to do is lay this out nice and smooth. And I'm going to pin, because we're going to be sewing all the way around the edge. So the easiest way for me to do that is to pin at the edge point right here and right here. So I'm going to go back where I've missed it. I'm just right beside the seam.
Jody wants to know, what size does this end up?
It's about, well, let's
Here.
just see. No, that one's a little smaller, that
Oh,
one
okay.
there. It's about 32 inches by 32 inches. But you just want to make sure everything is good and flat. I'm trying to remember what my last project was, because obviously there's still pins in it, because I don't have enough pins here. I'm just going to go ahead and flip the direction here. Now I need to this is what you want, and this is why you want to get those edges perfectly even, because you want this to lay nice and flat on here.
If it doesn't lay flat, what do they do?
It's a little tricky. If it doesn't lay flat, then what you usually have to do is kind of go like that, so that up here is where the extra fabric ends up, and it'll get covered up by that center piece. But you can see why it's a good idea to purchase the template, because you're going to get much more of an accurate cut.
Missed one right there.
Okay. Wow, I was close on the pens. Now, just because it's extra fabric and I don't need it, I'm going to come over here and just get rid of some of this. And it just makes it easier to handle later. Whoa, got a little close.
Say you're getting a little close.
Thank goodness I stopped when I did.
You're freehanding a little too much.
I would have freaked out on that, you guys. All right, so we're going to go back and I'm going to stitch 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Now you could use your 1/4 inch foot if you wanted to. I'm just got my machine set up for 1/4 inch this way.
Why is that not going on?
Oh, it's tricky.
Sorry, guys. Ow.
You got to put the bottom in first.
Okay, hold on. There you go.
All right. Get it back.
It's already there.
Okay, done. Oh, I know what it is. Hang on. It's my little spot on the back.
Okay.
There we go.
Oops. Sorry, that was probably making some people seasick.
All right. So we don't have to leave any opening, obviously, because of the fact that there's a hole in the center. So we're going to start right here, get right on that edge. I don't sew over pens, so I need to take that out. When I get to the corner, if you want to make sure you've got your exact 1/4, you could make your little pencil mark here so that when I get right beside that, I am stopping and pivoting. Shoot, hit the wrong one. Foot up, and we're going to come back a minute. All right. Well, I'm way back. What have I not done correctly? I guess I am way back. I didn't get to the line. So you're going to be stopping and starting quite a bit. When you get to this, you want to, I'm going to use that pencil again to show you. This is my seam right there. And you are going to stop with that needle right in that seam. I did not get to my pen, so I didn't have to take it out ahead of time. And that way when you turn, it'll be perfect. Again, we want to go right to that seam. If you turn and you're not in the right space, just go back. Sorry about that. Right to the seam. You could use regular batting. When I'm making something such as a placemat, table runner, tablecloth, I like to use the fleece because I have much more stability with it. And for me, one of the main reasons is it travels a whole lot better and doesn't get nearly as wrinkled as a bat does. Oh, not quite far enough. You notice that kind of pulled up there a little bit. I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure on it and not take the pin out till I get right to it. And it will just work that right in there. Another reason I love my So Steady extension table. Have a nice big surface here to work on. And like I said, there is a pattern called fan blade that has written instructions. This is a great pattern if you got a gift to make in short order. And when I first started, I was cutting them all out by hand. And we talked about it at So Steady and said, why are we doing that, Donelle? So we made a template. Looks like we have 3 more seams. Now you notice that that one just kind of turned up. I'm going to raise up my foot and get it back down. Last one. And instead of back stitching, I'm just going to turn it and overlap the stitching and cut that off. Now this is where you want to get those awesome scissors out that you hide and maybe keep under lock and key so that you can make these nice long cuts. This side that I'm doing now that you can't probably see was the one I got too close. So now we're on it. And yes, we will be coming back and trimming the points and trimming into that's kind of narrow there. I'm going to restitch that side. That looks better. It won't affect where I cut, but I'll show you the difference in the seam. If you can see it. One was out here and the other is in there. And the one was just too narrow. Now when I go to do the quilting, I will actually do the quilting prior to adding the center circle. Because I want to work from the center and then we'll cover up that starting point. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off all of these tips. Make sure you don't cut the stitching. Okay, this is where I usually use my lint roller, and it just picks up all those little tiny things. But right before I just told Megan I didn't need her again, she's gone now. I realize she took my lint roller to the other side of the room. Oh well, I got it. So then you are going to cut into, I don't like to use those long scissors. Let's see if these, you're going to cut into on the seam right here. So it's just a snip. Maybe these will be sharp enough. There we go. It's just a snip on the seam, but not through the stitching. Or I mean, not through the, yeah, don't go through where you turned and picked it up. And I'll know immediately if I got it deep enough cut. Okay. Get my point turner, and we are going to turn this right side out through that center hole there. Being careful not to pull these center stitches out because we didn't back stitch there. So now I'm just going to go in to that center. You can see how nice that point turns out there. Go to the next one. Uh-oh. I lost my pointer. And mine is pretty pointed. I may need to get something else. So when you're doing this, if you're like mine is really pointy, be careful because you don't want to push it through it. This is my ancient old, probably was my grandma's, that's bamboo, and they are very, very sharp. I'm going to take a look at that and see how that is. But you can see it'll turn out to a good point. Just take your time with it. Oops, almost pushed it, didn't I? There we go. Good point. Get back here, that's laying good and flat. I'm trying to see, does anybody have any questions that I missed? Whoops. The reason this is a little different than my regular odd Mondays is because I've got a couple of classes that I'm teaching, and my travel schedule kind of overlaps some of those classes. I had one last week that had to be canceled, and so actually it's this one. So we decided to just do it for the odd Monday. And then I will be doing another class on, I think the next one is March the 9th. I don't know where this year's going, I'm telling you. But I will be in the Atlanta area at the Duluth OSQE, which is the first one of the year. And then also down in Lakeland, Florida. And both of those are, well, the first one's the second weekend in March, and the other is the third weekend. So if you're in the area, I'd love to have you stop in, join me for a class. Whoops, ooh, I got too far out on that. Thank goodness it didn't break a thread. Looks like I got about 3 more. I almost went and purchased some fabric for St. Patrick's Day to make this out of, but I kind of ran out of time. Because those snowflakes aren't the templates don't have to be snowflakes. So I'm going over and press this edge, and I'll be back and we'll top stitch the edge and get on to our quilting. So when you're pressing this, you want to make sure that you're rolling your edge. In other words, I take this and I just kind of roll that back and forth in my fingers so that it lays good and flat. Now I have just a very obviously white thread on here, which is what I'm going to use. I'm going to start right here, but I want to move it just a smidge closer. So I'm going to adjust my needle. You may even be able to see it moving over there. And let's give it a test. Okay. And I want my stitches a little larger. So I'm going to take them up to 3. It just makes it looks a lot better, a little more professional. Now remember, I am less than 1/4 of an inch now because I adjusted that. So I want to make sure that I test it rather than go too far. And I've got to go a little bit farther. So I'm just going to needle up and needle down so that I don't mess it up. That looks good. Stop right in that seam. So let me pull this up so you can see it's, it's not right on the edge, but it's closer than 1/4 of an inch. And you can tell it lays a whole lot better after it's top stitched. It's the little things like making sure you get your points out nice. And this right here, get that pressed good. Those are the things that make your project look so much nicer. And I am going to be using, I know some of you are going to say, you're doing what? I'm going to use a very light gray thread to do my ruler work on this project. We're almost there, girls. Here we are. And I'm going to do the same thing here that I did before. Rather than back stitching, I'm going to pivot and overlap. And I'm just going to a few stitches. Then I will back stitch, touch my finish button, and then cut it. And that was my starting thread. And there's my ending threads all cut off. And so now, what I like to do before I get started is to put some pins around this center so that it keeps it laying nice and flat. So I'm just going to do like in the white sections. All right. So I'm going to take a ruler and I want to go straight up this center. And I'm going to try with my white chalk. You may not be able to see it well enough, but I think I'll be able to see it. And then, where's my template? There it is. This is the template, Spin Effect Snowflake 9. I have a whole set of snowflake templates, but I'm going to use this one because this is the one that's in your box. And what I want to do is I want to come down and I can just measure this. Probably about 6 inches. So I'm going to measure that and put a line across there. So that's just going to be a straight line down before I do anything with my ruler work. So let's see what we got here. Got to get my foot changed and my thread changed. Now I'm going to go ahead and leave my white thread in the bobbin. That will be fine. The thread that I'm using is a 40 weight Madeira thread. It's this color, like I told you, gray. Whenever you're threading, make sure the foot is up, and I hold the thread back by the spool so that there's tension on it to get it seated into the tension disc. And this machine has a great needle threader, so I'm using that. If you have a Janome, when you are using it, you put the lock button, engage the lock button, and that puts it in the perfect position. So I'm starting right there, making sure everything's laying nice and flat. I'll put my needle down and I'm going to bring my thread up. I'm not going to secure it because it's going to get covered up with the circle. So as soon as I get started, this can just be cut off. It's in the center there, and that's fine. And let's get you more on there so you can see it. To get down to this spot that's down here, I need to use a straight ruler. I've got my needle in, and I'm just going to use my spacing gauge. Let's back you up a little so you can see. I'm going to use my spacing gauge to keep that good and flat. Okay. And now I am going to use, where am I? There we are. I am going to use my extra lift on the back so that I can get into my template with my needle still down. Okay. And I'm going to put this, and I'm going to show you how I do this. I only want a little bit of this. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking this side over here and I'm placing it so that it is parallel, visually parallel. And I am actually right at the center right there with my needle. So I don't have to do a ton of marking. And I'm going to come right back to that spot. And I'm going to rotate it. Right there's my center that's lined up with my needle. I've got this parallel just like I did on that side. And I'm going to do the same thing again until I get right back to that spot. Now I want to make a longer one come down here, and I'm only going to do those two. I'm going to repeat them. So I'm only going to make a short line. So I'm going to come to here. Now, I don't want to pass that because it'll jump into this spot. I'm looking to see if I got it straight. So I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'm going to put it right at that spot. Rotate it so it's got the same amount of distance here. Now feel free to do a bunch of marking if you want, but you really don't have to. Lining that up with the needle, getting this so that it's the same distance over here, from here to here and here to here. Now this time I'm going to make it long. Okay, I want it to go clear down to here. Well, I really can't do that with this template So I'm going to get that extra raise here. See what I got going there? Set this straight. Right down here at the bottom, I'm going to measure 1/4 of an inch over from my point. And I'm going to use my ruler's measurements to stitch down 2 inches. And now all I'm going to do is set this so that this bottom edge is right across where the intersection of the seams comes. And then I'm going to stitch this part of it. Now, I think I really need to go back up farther to that intersection. So I'm sliding this and I'm measuring this so that I get right on that line again. Uh-oh, I went out and I only had just a little bit more to go. So there we are. I'm going to come back just a little bit, and since I went back and forward, take this and knot it and cut it. And so we've got that down here. Now, if you want more up here, you could have more up there too. You could do this one differently and have it closer up to the top, but it's totally up to you. So let's see. It came down 6 inches. So I'm going to draw my line first. And again, I know I'll be able to see it. I don't know that you will. Because when you're using these on white fabric, it will show up. You might even be able to see that. I have got a little gnat. I had a little gnat. I just now killed it, finally. It's been bugging me for like 3 days. He's probably got several little brothers around, so. Okay. So again, if I'm coming down, I think this time I'll come down 4 inches. So this is almost going to line up right on. I'm still using the same spot here. It's terrible. I can't think how far I came down here, but I want to go twice as much. So I came down 1.5 inches. So I want to do 3 inches this time. going to put this out. So I'll do the white one way and the blue another way. And I'm going to come down the line. And now we'll come clear down to here, and I've got the edge on that. And then it's just easier to take this out. Put your foot back down, because I want to stitch back up to here on the line. The finish button. And cut it off. So that way we'll have two different things going on. You get an idea of what the gray looks like on here. And before we stop tonight, I'll go ahead and do another blue and another white. And if you've never sewn the circle in the center, trying to think how to do this, because I'd have to do this whole thing to be able to do that. Well, let's just start and see how fast I can do this. And then I came down 6 inches. What did I do with my pin cushion? There it is. All right. So I'm coming to here. And I came down 1.5 inches, I think. 1.5 inches. Which yep. Kind of have to do it in bits and pieces there. Okay. So I'm going to skip over here to the next blue. Since I got that one in my mind, so I'm going to put the needle down here, raise that thread up. Get my spacing gauge and measure. Right here is 6. Obviously, you don't have to do the same thing I did. You can do whatever you want, and you can use whatever template you want. The reason I just don't go ahead and mark them all is because, first of all, it's chalk, and it might get a little bit fuzzy. And it just seems easier to do it this way. We're coming down 6 inches to that. Needle down, needle up. Pull up that thread. Foot down, needle back down. Get your spacing gauge. Down here's my 6. Stitch down to that. My template. Line it up with the center of that circle and get the edge over here. turn it this way. Then I'm stitching all the way down to there, and then rotating it out and getting my edges lined up here. Stitch down to the center here as far as I can for the straightaway. It's not far enough, so I gotta go again, which is also not far enough. And then I'll move it to where I want it. Oops, got a little too excited there. Oops. Let's take a second and cut some of these threads out. You think that'd be a good idea, Ruthie? Huh? Cut these threads out? You might want to play with them. That's why I need to cut them out. Love that extra lift there. Uh-oh. I pulled it off. Thank goodness it was just a tie-off stitch. All right. I know I've got one more blue, but I think I'm just going to, well, let's do this one. I think after that I can put my circle on, so you won't have to watch me do all of that again. I will do one more white for those that were wanting to see again. Okie dokie. I'm going to show you something that I just now thought of that I should have been using or could have been using. And that's this straight edge right here on the side. So I'm going to put my needle down here, pull up that bobbin thread, and put that in that hook right there. And I'm going to show you and try and get my spacing gauge. The distance from here to here is 1/4 of an inch. So you just basically put this line on that and you don't even have to measure anymore. Now I'm stopping right there, so I could put that right at that point, right on that line, and it stopped exactly where I want it to go. So this edge right here kind of eliminates, when you're sewing a straight line, having to worry with that. So that's perfect for this particular template. Now let's see. I think we're coming 3 inches, so this will be another perfect time to use it. Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out and come here. And let's see, there's my straight line. So I'm going to put that edge on it. And I want to do 3 inches. Well, it doesn't really matter. Where's my line? I got to look at it here. So from here to there. One, 2, 3. So I'm just going to put it right beside that. Line this right up on this edge. And that will bring it down 3 inches. Whoa, I went in the wrong one. All right. Some of you may be wondering why I went clear back up to there, because that makes that stem, so to speak, look all the same. If I'd stopped back down here, it would look kind of odd. So I'm going to take these other pens out, and I want to show you how I'm going to find the exact center. It's not rocket science, but it's just a matter of taking this and going straight across there. And let me see if my blue pen works. Who knows? Oh yeah, it does. And then I'm going to go this way, so I know exactly where my center point is. So, Miss Ruthie, you're right in there, aren't you? So while I go press this, let me back this off so you can see what we've got here. And I'll be right back. So on my circle, I either want to have a piece of fusible such as Temply Fuse, which is our product, or Heat and Bond Light or something like that. Or in this case, I'm going to make it so that center is a little bit puffier or padded. And so therefore I am going to use fusible fleece, so it'll have another layer there. So I need to set this up for our circle, and this won't take us very long at all. I'm setting it back to just a regular straight stitch to start this. And rather than take that mat off, I'm just going to take this mat and put it on top of it. So this is our Universal Circles and Straights tool. And I want to line it up with the needle front to back and side to side. And let's see what size we got here. I've got a 7, so I'm going to make a 6.5, I think, inch circle. Maybe I'll make a 6. So I'm going to take these little guys off. And I'm going to put that on the 6 so that this line is down the center. Make sure that's on there good and tight. And I'm going to bring this in and put it right on that pin. Oops, didn't get it on there. There we go. And then we'll put this in there. And then I'm just going to check it to make sure I've got space all the way around. And it looks like I do. And I've got it set just for a straight stitch. This is so fun and so easy. And so what I'm going to do now, I just overlap it, cut my thread, and I'm going to use my applique scissors to get right up close to that. You see how that covers everything up where we have done those lines. So since I'm not completely finished with doing that, I'm going to do a couple rows of decorative stitching here, but I will leave the outermost one off until I actually get my other stitching with my ruler work complete. So, the one thing you want to make sure you do is mark that center so that when I come back to do it, I'll know exactly where that pin goes. Not maybe-ish, but exactly. So I'm just putting a little mark right there. So I will put that pin right where it's supposed to be. Because once I take it off, I may not know because I had it marked on that other one. So let's go ahead. And I am going to move my needle clear to the left. That's not far enough. Let's go back to the center, and I will simply move my whole bar in, and I'm going to move it into 5 inches. Because the stitch I like to do, which is fun and easy, and most machines have it, and usually no one pays attention to it, and it's just simply a stitch that is called a bean stitch, forward and back. And you can see we got right back, and I'm just going to overlap a little bit and cut that thread, because this one going back and forth on itself, certainly it's definitely not going to come out. That's what I'm trying to say. I can't even get a hold of my scissors or my thread there. So then, once I'm finished with all of these, because I will be starting there, I will do a stitch right over all of this, a decorative stitch, and that will cover up those spots like this right here. So it just comes out without any notice of it at all. So I hope you've enjoyed this project, and if you don't have one of our fan blade templates, they are available, and if the numbers aren't up yet, it was because today they were adding that extra piece at the bottom that I showed you. And if you already have the fan blade, you will be able to buy just this piece right here, because that's what fits right up on there, and then you can tape them together and have the point. Obviously, you can make it with the curve too. So if there aren't any other questions, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And we'll see you at least for sure on March the 9th, maybe before then. So keep watch on what's going on the So Steady Facebook page. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Bye now.
Are you ready to take your quilting to the next level? Whether you're just starting or looking for fresh inspiration, the Elevate Box Club is designed just for you. As one of our club members, you'll receive a quarterly box packed with exclusive tools, patterns, and fabric to bring your projects to life. We host live classes every month, plus recorded lessons available anytime on our So Steady University. Join us every Thursday at 10 a.m. for live inspiration on YouTube. We have a club for everyone. Choose from our ruler work club, our pattern only club, or the Elevate Box Club. Want it all? We also have a Get It All club, combining ruler work and embroidery collections. Whatever your style and no matter your skill level, the Elevate Box Club is here to help elevate your creativity. We never stop learning together.